Thank you again for joining me on Tennis Volley Talk with Brian Danielson. Hey, today, what I'm going to be doing is doing an over-the-phone interview with a friend of mine, a tennis friend that I've played tennis with many times before, and has actually really been on the podcast a couple other times before, and now today is almost kind of turning into my for the majors and everything, kind of my co-host in a way. Rob Small, thank you for joining me today on Tennis Volley Talk, Rob.
Hey, Brian. Thank you for having me once again.
Yeah. And how's it feel being almost like a co-host in a way?
For sure. Absolutely.
Well, that's good. With that, now, right now, what they're in the midst of, it's coming up on the Australian Open, one of the majors, the first major. However, they're kind of in those tournaments that are before the Australian Open right now, which are the WTA and the ATP also.
Yeah, a great tournament's going on. There's multiple different ones for WTA and for the ATP, and I know some of the big guns like the Sinner and Alcaraz. They're really not playing too many. I think they're really trying to conserve all their energy to winning that Australian Open, but the other tournaments are definitely worth a watch, whether it be Hobart for the ladies, Perth. I know we had talked about earlier some of the traveling you have to do just to get around Australia, and then you end up at the Australian Open.
Yeah, I mean, going that far is almost like going from New York to California for a tournament. And that's like a 3-hour trip. So yeah, I can.
For those people who don't know where Perth is, because I was watching the Perth tournament, I'm like, oh, it's probably just a couple hours, not too far. And all of a sudden I looked and it was halfway across Australia.
Go figure that one, right?
All the way across Australia.
All the way across.
Yeah.
So with that too, who else actually has qualified, went through the qualifying to get into the Australian Open that was in kind of a slump, was Sloane Stephens, and she's made it into the main draw.
Good for Sloane. We had talked about earlier that seeing players like her, triumph through injuries, and I know she was giving interviews at the Australian Open, or at the U.S. Open, excuse me, and I was like, she's great at that, but I would love to see her play again. She is a Grand Slam champion. She's made deep runs. I remember years ago she beat Serena at the Australian Open quarterfinals and got all the way to the semis. So she's a great player, seems like a great person, and I'm glad that she's back out there.
Oh yeah, it's good to see her back out there, and even though who knows how many more possible tournaments that she might have in her, but with that, hope for the best with her, and hopefully you'll see that with her, with a few more tournaments in her.
Absolutely, yeah, it'd be great. Like I said, you're only young once,
mm-hmm.
And for these players like Holger Rune, I feel really bad that he had that devastating injury, and I hope that I know guaranteed that he's doing everything he can to strengthen his body, get it back to what it was before, maybe even better.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'll find, to some degree, traveling around the world, playing all those tournaments, all the grind, the practicing, maybe he'll just kind of focus on what he's doing, get his mind right, and then go back on tour and crush it. But players like that, I hate when they're injured. Delpo's another one. We've talked about that. Sloane Stephens, obviously, Nick Kyrgios, his is kind of more mental and the
mm-hmm.
want and the desire. But I love seeing those players, though, play
oh, sure.
to the best of their ability for as long as they have it.
Oh, absolutely, to play like that. And also, take, for example, like Thomas Muster back in the day when he was already getting ready to play for a final. And he was in between cars, and some drunk driver hit a car, and it went into him and smashed his knee. And he later on, you see him out on the tennis court, and has his leg up in the cast, and he's on a bench, and he's like hitting forehands, and doing the practice, putting it in so he doesn't lose the timing. And Holger Rune, he's actually, starting to walk. It's slow, but he's getting back there and starting to walk. So that's a good thing for him to get back out there and kind of just now lightly start hitting the ball on the court too.
Absolutely, yeah. I had heard that about Tomas Mr. I saw the vignette of him like hitting the ball, and I saw that he was injured. I didn't realize how he had been injured.
Yes, it was just crazy because it was a tournament that he was going to be playing in a final, and that night before, and he's in between the two cars, and bam, it just an accident that happened, and it was like amazing in itself. And then after he came back and started playing again, I think it was like 3, 4, 5 years later, he ends up coming back and then winning that tournament that he had been kicked out of because of his leg or knee being crushed and hurt and rehabilitating it.
Oh, that's a heck of a story, and how terrible too. You're just kind of minding your own business, living your best life, and then bam, somebody does something stupid, makes a foolish decision, and it maybe altered his career a little bit. And we had talked about Monica Seles, her getting stabbed as well. That's another one. Like, we definitely need to do a podcast on what could have been.
Yes.
And, like, on Martin Del Potro, on Monica Seles, Thomas Booster.
Yes.
Maybe he fits into that category. I don't know him as well as know about his career as well as you do. And then also Team as well.
Yes.
He's another one too. What could have been?
What could have been? Yeah. How many, if they had not been injured and the nagging injuries that they had per se, what could have they done with that? It just is amazing what that could be also with that kind of a podcast also. But with that, if you've heard, and there's a possibility that now, just kind of a possibility, and this is kind of a little theory that I've heard a little bit around, is that now Serena has gotten back into the drug testing part of it. However, you don't know if she might be coming back fully with all the tournaments, or could it be kind of a swan song with Serena and Venus at the US Open, and swan song for Venus, last matches that they're playing, but playing doubles together in the US Open.
That would be fantastic, honestly. To any capacity we could get Serena back, a legend like that, a talent like that, I honestly would put her up against anyone. And that's not a knock on Martina Navratilova. That's not a knock on Chrissy Everett. Not a knock on Swiatek, Sabalenka, anybody. But I think Serena is the best female tennis player of all time. And if we could get her back even to a doubles capacity with Venus, by the way, what an amazing story, Venus. She's playing, I believe it's her 25th or 26th Australian Open.
Yes. Unbelievable. And to be her age right now, to still be out there because of the love of the game and everything, it just is unbelievable. But with that, you kind of look at the way it is now, and you see, well, really, you actually, in the men's side, you really kind of have the top two named Alcaraz and Sinner. There's many different kind of possibilities that can be the number third one. Djokovic is kind of in the third, but he's kind of slipping a little bit. Could it be Fritz? Could it be Bublik? Could it be Zverev? Could it be Tsitsipas? You don't know, but you always have those top two right now, other than back 10 years ago, that it was for 10 years the top three, Nadal and Federer and Djokovic. But now also in the women's side, you kind of have a little bit more of a shot with, you have Sabalenka, and then you have Rybakina, and then you have Goff, and you have like Anna Samova or Keys. Any one of those two could take the tournament.
Absolutely. So I was just looking at the men, and right now, Alcaraz and Sinner kind of remind me like Federer and Nadal in about like 2007. It was Federer, Nadal, and everybody else. Djokovic didn't win his first Grand Slam until the Australian Open 2008. And Andy Murray was a very solid player, but he wasn't quite there yet. Same with Stan Wawrinka. Believe it or not, he actually got better as he got older. Like 28 to 32, 33, that was like his prime, which is nowadays, that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, it does.
Today it was 22, 23-ish, maybe 25,
Yeah.
up until about 29, 30, and then you kind of trailed off and rode off into the sunset. But definitely not the case anymore. But that's what it reminds me of, about like 06, 07, it's Federer and Nadal and everybody trying to catch up to them. I want to see, can Zverev do it?
Yes.
Like I said, can he win his first slam? Can Djokovic win one more? Does he have 26 in him? Musetti, very solid player. I just don't know how he'll do against the top guys, and then even the other two I just mentioned with Zverev and Djokovic. All of these guys, if you go on down to Ludwig, to Fritz, to Shelton, to Aliassime, to Damonel, to even Draper, the talent level is not that much different, but it's the mental capacity that they have and the toughness and to win the big point and to go for it and not play tight.
Yeah.
And that's what you see out of the other two, because all of these guys, like the top 10, top 15, top 20, they're all pretty much doing the same thing. They're eating healthy. They have a great team. They're hitting so many balls. They're doing all kinds of, vigorous, intense training. But the difference is, I think, the mental toughness and being able to go for it when a championship is on the line.
Absolutely. And with that consistency, you kind of see that with those two, but you kind of have that give and take right now. You kind of think that possibility with Sinner just kind of overall may be just a little bit more consistent all the way around right now with his game.
I think so. I think Yannick does a great job, but I will say, I think last year, or at least the last 6 meetings, Alcaraz has beaten him 5 out of the 6. So, or excuse me, 5 out of the 7, because Sinner just won that last meeting in, what was it, the year-end championships, the World Tour Finals. But there's one guy, like Sinner, against the rest of the field, I can't even tell you what his numbers are. They're so astronomically insane.
Oh, sure.
He is.
Oh, sure.
And
Absolutely.
one guy that's kind of a thorn in his side. And I told this to Randy Ronning. He's the head coach of the Elk River Elks boys and girls tennis team. Great guy, very knowledgeable.
Oh,
He's
sure.
Awesome. I mean, he's been around the game for way longer than I've been
Sure.
around. But,
Yeah. Go Elk River Tennis Tournament. Yay.
Yes. I think when Alcaraz is playing his A+ performance, like when he's hit that level, not even Sinner can touch him.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't see that all the time.
Yeah.
We see it kind of go up and down just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And when he's down a little bit, that's when Sinner is almost like a solid, flat line way up high.
Oh, sure,
And
absolutely.
he's not really going to waver very much. Very rarely do you see his game is so off,
Mm-hmm.
unless he's injured or sick, which we did see twice last year. Once in the Cincinnati finals, the first 5 games, he tried to gut it out, and Alcaraz was all over him. And you could just tell he wasn't the same.
Yeah.
It was one of the Asian tournaments. I don't know if it was the China Open or the Japan Open. One of them, he withdrew, and you could just tell he, was not himself.
Yeah, it was hot there at that time too, 100 plus or whatever there, and I was kind of like surprised that it got that hot there.
Oh man, and that's what they have to worry about for the Australian Open too, is what's the heat like?
I know sure.
They can close the roof, but for some of those other players that are on the outer courts, good luck to you. I hope they're plenty hydrated, and it seems funny kind of saying that. But back in 07, Djokovic had to default against Andy Roddick because he wasn't hydrated enough.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say that about Novak Djokovic.
Oh, I know. The machine that he is.
Right, going back in time but even then, as healthy as he was, he's like, I can make other changes. And he got rid of meat and other certain things that really helped his body. And I mean, 24 slams later.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And with that too, just kind of like talking whenever we are getting back with the injuries and everything, and with like Monica Seles too. I was actually able, about a month before she got stabbed, I was able to see her play in an exhibition against Mary Jo Fernandez here in Minneapolis, which was, what a joy that was to watch.
Oh man, that would have been awesome to see her. And you said that was just a few months before she got stabbed?
Yeah, about a few months, about a couple of months before she got stabbed, and I was watching her in Minneapolis play.
Oh, honestly, that's amazing. Being in Minnesota, I was born in '84, so by the time I got really into tennis was in high school, and by then they never even played tournaments here. So
yeah.
Lucky they do like the senior tour here. I remember one time they called it the Lian Chin Challenge, and it was like Michael Chang and Johnny Mack, and there was who was it? Todd Martin.
Oh gosh, okay.
And I can't remember the fourth guy, but it was another legend.
Okay.
And I asked somebody who went to that. I said, "Who won that out of those? Michael Chang, Johnny Mack? It might have been Agassi, but don't quote me on that." And I said, "Who won that?" Thinking it's Johnny Mack or somebody else. And she goes, "Believe it or not, Todd Martin."
I'll be darned. Okay, well, Todd Martin was a solid player in his own right.
He was very solid. 2-time runner-up. One of them. His hardest part was he had this kind of a similar game to Sampras, but Sampras was better at it. So every time he ran into Pistol Pete, he kind of met his maker.
He did. He did it. I remember watching what a marvelous 5-set match that Todd Martin had against Carlos Moya back at the U.S. Open. He was down 2 sets to 0 or 2 sets to 1, and came back and won it in 5. What a match comeback!
That's another thing too we should highlight is players that were, the hall of really solid but never made that climb. Todd's one of those guys, man.
Yeah.
When he was on.
Oh yeah, when he was
at the office, I don't care who you were.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. What a solid player he was. And then you have, with that too, you have also the year-end championships at Center One, but then you also have what a play that Rabakina had in that year-end championships with the women to all win all of her matches, and then to have the purse that she got at the end of that, 5.25 million. That's amazing. And she was coming back from injury and was healthy. Watch out for her. She could be a dark horse in the Australian Open.
I agree with you. And look at the people that she beat on her way there. You look at the pool play. So the group stages, she beat Anisimova, she beat Swiatek, and then unfortunately Madison Keys, I believe, had to pull out.
Yeah.
And then she beat Alexandrova, and then when she got to the semis, she beat Jessica Pegula.
Yeah.
And then she beat Sabalenka.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just like she was like on fire. But a lot of people don't realize though that, she may not be able to move that good side to side or up. But the thing is what helps her is her elegance on the court with being long legs and long reach, because she used to be an ice skater. So that does kind of help her with the gliding and getting to a lot of shots that way too.
Right. Well, when you're 6 feet tall,
I
don't know how many women on tour are 6 feet tall, but that definitely has to be a huge advantage with her wingspan and getting to the net and hitting certain volleys and overheads and then with the serve. So, and she's sneakily athletic.
Oh, definitely. So a lot of people are surprised that she is as athletic as she is, but maybe the ice skating does help her a bit with being that athletic and kind of more gliding a little bit more so with maybe up and down than side to side, maybe.
His name's Gordy Roberts.
Okay.
In the NHL, and he won 2 Stanley Cups as a player with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I believe it was 91 and 92. And one of them, they beat the Minnesota North Stars back when they were here. He became the coach of the Elk River Elks varsity hockey team, and he was there for about 4 or 5 years. And he had great teams and great players, but every time we would play, we were in Section 7, and we would always play up at Duluth, and Duluthies, shockingly, basically on home ice, would knock us out every single year. But he was a very good coach in his own right, and a solid player, obviously. I mean, he was in the NHL, won 2 cups, but he told me he had some tennis players that also were on his hockey team, and he said, I love tennis for hockey and vice versa, because it helps build the legs, it helps with cardio, and it helps with even footwork, believe it or not. You know, and he loved the differences between the two. So, hey, with Rabakina or whoever else, whatever's working for you, keep doing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Keep doing it and do that. Do the work and you know, have that mentality that I mean, and like I said, she very well could be a dark horse if she's healthy. She's just a darn good player.
Definitely a dark horse. She's somebody you definitely need to watch out for. And by the way, she had a solid run. She made it to the round of 16 last year in the 2025 Australian Open. Unfortunately, though, for her, she lost in 3 sets to the eventual champion, Madison Keys. So obviously a tough out. I mean, Keys beat Swiatek and Sabalenka. She had the tournament of her life, and I think that's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Another person I want to see is Coco Gauff.
Yes.
If she really stays in it with her athleticism, return to serve, her ground strokes, she's got a good chance. Anna Samova, ranked. This is the highest she's ever been ranked. So
yes.
Hopefully the spotlight's not too bright for her, and she keeps pushing forward. And also, don't ever forget about Paulini.
Oh yeah, Paulini. Yeah.
Little in stature, but her game is very powerful.
Oh, it is. It is much more powerful than what it seems with her hitting the ball. But yeah, with Coco too, you got to watch out for that. If her serve starts going south, that she doesn't think about it and start worrying about it, and then it goes more south on her sometimes.
100%. Yeah, we've seen in the past, like, there's been players who maybe out hit her or just had a better day than she did. That doesn't happen as often, though. Usually if she loses, though, it's almost like she beats herself. It's almost like she's in competition with herself, and sometimes she gets kind of like too emotional about a call the umpire overruled, or a point that had to be replayed that she felt didn't. We saw that in the Olympics. She actually kind of melted down right in front of everybody. And I know she's still very young, but at the same time, if she mentally stays focused, the best I think she ever played was not only at the U.S. Open a couple of years ago, but last year at the French, when she weathered the storm, if you will, and that was the storm of Sabalenka. And I know it's on clay, so it slows the ball down a little bit.
Yeah.
But Coco Gauff, I don't necessarily know if she outplayed her, but she stayed focused. She stayed locked in, and she just almost like a fighter. Like Sabalenka punched herself out, and then she just waited, and then kind of counter struck and beat her.
Yeah, unbelievable with that. In that realm of her playing like that. And then, with that, the Anna Samova, you got to kind of watch out for that too, because of the fact not only is she has this good year that she had last year, but with that also, you have her mental, if she doesn't get frustrated with the onslaught of winning shots and stays the course, then she gets herself righted one way or the other, and then watch out.
Absolutely, 100%. She's always, I don't even know if you could call her a dark horse. I know there's the top two, it's kind of like the women, but with the women, as compared to the men, we think it's definitely Alcaraz, Sinner, everyone else, but this one, last year, Madison Keys won it. Coco Gauff broke through. It was multiple champions. It wasn't just one or two that were winning them all. So I kind of like that, though, and as much as I love the big three, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, it was really cool when Andy Murray won his 2 Wimbledons and his U.S. Open. And Stan Wawrinka just to Wimbledon away from the career slam. It was cool to see those guys break. Del Potro was another one in 2009. And by the way, I don't know if you knew this or not, but I heard this stat, and it makes sense, but it's just like crazy to me. So you think of the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the last non-European man to win a major was, and what year?
Golly, I don't know. I would say, gosh, I would say maybe Agassi. I'm not sure.
So the last non-European to win a major for the men's side was 2009 at the U.S. Open. Juan Martin Del Potro from Argentina beat Roger Federer in 5.
That is amazing. That is
And
just
before
amazing.
that, it was Andy Roddick at the U.S. Open in 2003.
That's hard to imagine, but that's wow. That is that is just amazing in itself.
So in 2003, Agassi started that was his last Grand Slam championship.
Mm-hmm.
He won the Australian Open, so we had an American start out the Slam season,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had an American close it out with Andy Roddick getting his first and only, unfortunately, because some jerk named Federer kept beating him.
Yeah, so some guy named Federer just kind of put him on the rope and just took care of him all the time.
Exactly, I know. Just think of the career. If Roddick had been born like maybe 3-4 years earlier,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe got a few more. I know Leighton Hewitt was coming on, but he actually handled Hewitt pretty well.
Oh, he did. Yeah. Yeah.
That's astounding to me, though, that since 2003 until 2025, there's only been 3 players, Agassi, Roddick, and Del Potro, to win a major that were not from Europe.
Yeah, that were not from Europe. That's amazing in itself to understand that. With that, you YouTubers out there, be sure and like and subscribe and comment to my podcast, Tennis Volley Talk. And then also you podcasters out there, you're going to be hearing about the Racket of the Week here coming up pretty soon too. And just like, subscribe, and comment to that. And if you want to take a look at the racket, go to Tennis Volley Talk on YouTube, my podcast here. But with that, now kind of a little thing that you might kind of like a little percentage-wise here, but who do you think is a possibility percentage-wise other than named Alcaraz and Sinner that could be in the final or might win the final?
Oh man, that's a good question. So I'm gonna say the guy who I think is playing the best out of like the top 10, top 15 is Felix Auger-Aliassime. So I'm gonna give him about, I'm going to say a solid 20-25% chance to win. I know that sounds maybe a little low or high, depending on how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, he's the best because Djokovic, God bless him,
Mm-hmm.
but at 38 years old, it's really hard to,
Yeah.
And he's in great shape.
Oh, he
He's
is.
phenomenal care of his body.
He is. He does.
But Zverev would be the obvious choice, but I think he's kind of like Coco Gauff. He's almost like his own worst enemy.
Yes, he is.
I really do hope that he breaks through and wins a slam. He's a gold medalist.
Mm-hmm.
He's won like a Hoffman Cup, I believe. I don't know if he's done Davis Cup yet, but he's won some big tournaments in the past.
Yes.
And he can do it.
Yes.
But for him, he's 6'6", hits the ball beautifully,
Mm-hmm.
but I just think in the biggest moments, it's a mental thing for him. So, but I just think out of all the players, Aliassime right now is the guy that I think is playing the best. Shelton has the power to do it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's almost like Sabalenka.
Yeah.
You've noticed Sabalenka actually is not just power anymore. She is trying to put some finesse in her game, and I think if Shelton works on that just a little bit and just kind of locks in just a little bit more mentally, he'll be the guy breaking through.
Yeah, sure. Now, another one is on the women. Percentage of, other than the names of Sabalenka and probably the odds-on Schwentek, percentage of who you might be in the final and might win it?
Oh, man. I'm going to say the one that we were talking about. I'm going to say Elena Rybakina.
Okay.
And I think she has the athleticism, the height, the game. I think she could take it down. I don't think Anisimova's there yet. And Coco Gauff, I want to see how she starts this season.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes that's indicative of how it's going to go. It's not always, because she did perform. Actually, I think she did have a decent run last year at the Australian, but then she went on to win the French. But I'm going to say, so Felix Auger-Aliassime for the men is my dark horse.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Rybakina, if you can even say that she's a dark horse
for
women, that would be mine to break through other than the top two.
Yeah, other than the top two. For me, I think that I would say probably maybe about a 25 or maybe 28% that if Taylor works on it and puts a downright effort into it, returning serve, he could do it, a possibility of anybody. And then Taylor Fritz. And I'd say maybe about a 25, 28% other than the top two. And then the women's side, I give Rybakina probably, I would say a good maybe 35, maybe 38% if she was in to win it.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm. And with that too, it just is amazing in itself that way. But with that too, the aspect of with what you've thought and who I've had on the podcast so far with some of the ex-pros that I've been able to get a hold of. What do you think of that, of how I've been able to do that?
I think it's amazing. You've had some former Grand Slam champions on. You've had, Vince Van Patten, who I've seen him on it was Fox Sports North and Fox Sports and all that, but the Poker Channel, an actor. He was a fantastic player in his own right, but you've got some local people, like all the way from great high school players to college players to former ATP players. I think it's fantastic what you're doing, and hopefully we can, get some more viewers and build up this channel and get even some bigger guests to come on. And not the ones that in the past weren't big, but they were great. And but it's building a podcast is hard, but for not dishing out thousands of dollars to get these big names on. I think you've done amazing. You've been relentless at it, and it's clearly your passion and love, and you can see that in the work that you do. Yeah, and it's just been so wonderful to be able to be dogged enough to get the names and get an email or get a phone number or whatever the case may be, and then have them get back to me. Which has been amazing in itself to get the ones that I've gotten, like Johan Creek. He actually personally called me and we had a good 5-minute conversation before we set up the day that we were going to do it. But a good 5-10 minute conversation between me and Johan Creek was just unbelievable. He's the one that called me. That's really cool. And for those who don't know, he's a 2-time Australian Open men's singles champion.
Yeah, and then
and great to hear his story.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I learned a lot of history when he had his story about South Africa.
Absolutely.
And then to be able to have, and another one that actually called me, Brian Gottfried. He actually called me too, and we set it up. But we had a very good little conversation. The funny thing is whenever I caught the name coming over the phone, and I went, oh my gosh, and I answered, and he goes, is this Brian? He goes, I said, yeah, and he goes, this is Brian Gottfried, and I went, oh my gosh, unbelievable! You're calling me. That is so wonderful. This is like an amazing thing that you're calling me. And he goes, boy, I haven't had that much excitement from my wife even in a long time. So.
Well, somebody once said it. I was listening to Shannon Sharp was saying about it when Tom Brady was kind of towards the end of his career and pondering retirement. He goes, "Hey, you have to understand, not that his wife and children weren't great, but he said at home, he's dad.
Mm-hmm.
When he walks out of the football field, he's Tom Brady, the greatest to ever do it."
Yeah.
So, sure, see that when you see somebody every day, sometimes it doesn't get as exciting, but that's really funny that he said, "My wife doesn't even get that excited."
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And with that, then, and another one, Dick Stockton, because I think one of the reasons that I was able to get him was that I got an email and sent him an email, and then he got back to me. He said, "Call him," and I said, I did. But one of the things that helped is that because of the fact that I had seen him and mentioned back in Tulsa where I lived, they had a Bank of Oklahoma tennis tournament that he was in, and I watched him play doubles. And so that was kind of the end thing with it. And Dick Stockton is wonderful, and he actually has a charity out there called Boots to Court, which he teaches free lessons to the military families out there all over.
That's really cool. Yeah. I heard you mention that. I think that's really cool that he does that. I mean, didn't he talk about like he wants to get a tennis match going on like an aircraft carrier?
He did mention that. That's in the possible planning stages. I don't know if that'll come to, but if it does, what an experience to actually see, the lessons being done on an aircraft carrier. But only thing is that just don't hit an overhead, or you're going to go swimming for the ball.
Yeah, I remember when Federer played on that really high building, and there was that tennis court. I was like, you better watch it, boys. I don't know if I could have done that.
I don't think so.
YouTube. They go to, I believe it's Dubai, and
Mm-hmm.
this really tall building. And then once the elevator gets out, there's like this little platform that they go to. I don't know if it was like a helicopter pad or whatever, but they turned it into like a makeshift tennis court.
Yeah.
I mean, hundreds and hundreds of feet high.
Oh yeah.
And they started playing on it. I was like,
nope,
I don't think I can do that. I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah, don't think so. I don't think so. That's a little too high for me to look down that far, or even be close to the edge or anything like that.
Exactly. You're not chasing up balls at that point.
Yeah, not gonna go after that ball. I'll let it go.
That would be really cool. Anything that he can do to help the military, and because they do sacrifice so much, and I've always said freedom isn't free, and what those soldiers do is awesome. So anything tennis related, anything sports related, anything to help the troops and bring awareness, I think is awesome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And with that, now also kind of on another note too, with that, I think it is really kind of nice whenever the players also have this downtime before the big major comes, and before they're off in doing the tournaments leading up to the majors, in their off time, and having these little fun events that they do, that you see their personalities come through, and having fun, or like the United Cup, with all of those companies or countries coming through and playing together and against each other, and yet it is a still fun, kind of relaxed atmosphere with everybody, and you see their personalities.
Absolutely, yeah. You get to see the fun and the joy out of it. People like a Vince Van Patten that you have on the show, and even like Johnny Mack too. He's always funny, even though he's so fierce and competitive. But when you get him in like a charity event or something, he still wants to win. But what a personality, and I do love seeing that. The Australian Open is really good about doing that. They have had several charity events. I saw Alcaraz just played, I think, Alex de Minaur, and it was awesome to see. And they pack the place. Those Aussies, man, they love their tennis. But
They
yeah,
do. They understand that tennis. And what do you think about the one Grand Slam serve, or whatever it is, that they had?
The Slam was unbelievable. I forgot the man's name who won it, but he's obviously a very good player. He was a state champion for the state that he's from in Australia. But for him to, if you were to tell like a club player, hey, you get to play for just a tiny little bit at Rod Laver Arena in front of a packed house, he'd have been like, that's fine for me. You know, that would be amazing. That'd be like us playing
Yeah.
the draft or
Yeah.
something like that. But not only did he play in that and got selected, which was be amazing in his own right, and to stand over with the likes of Alcaraz and Sinner and Swiatek and so many other great players, but he won the whole thing. And he also won $1 million,
Yeah.
Recorder's Trophy, and probably, like, I know all the other players were, like, Sinner was talking about it even the next day, and Alcaraz had brought it up after his charity match, and you know, it was really cool to see, like, the smiles on their faces. The only one that I think was really frustrated was Nick Kyrgios, who smashed his racket.
Oh yeah.
So, if you go back and I watched the whole thing, I stayed up till 5 in the morning.
Oh,
you know,
God.
crazy. It was so fun to watch, though, because it's literally you only get 1 point.
Yeah,
So,
and it's just like the pressure is, and of course, then even the men and even the women, the pro players, they were actually talking about how incredibly nervous they were to actually be doing this.
yeah, I know. I couldn't even, like, they talked to Sinner, and he's like, I'm really nervous.
Yeah.
Because the pros only get 1 serve. So
Yeah.
if you net it, you're out.
Mhm.
It's a 1-point slam. So
Yeah.
and it's really cool. They do rock, paper, scissors
Yeah.
to see who gets to serve. And most of the time, people normally would say, I want to serve. But because you only get 1, they're like, ooh, I'm going to put all the pressure on my opponent. And I'm going to let them serve and go return. So like 85, 90% of the time, you saw the players choosing to receive, which is normally pretty rare. But yeah, and actually, the guy who won, he actually beat Sinner, but that's because Sinner netted his first serve, and that was over.
And that was it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And of course, then the pros, they can't serve that hard because they only get the 1 serve. So you at least have a chance at returning it.
Yeah, that's the thing too. And most of the time too, I saw them spinning it in. Very rarely did the pros go for it all on 1 serve. So it's almost like anything, you know, if you're playing a game, there's definitely strategy involved, and you kind of got to change it up a little bit. And most you saw a lot of spin serves, and of course the amateur players or anyone ranked outside the top 100 did get 2 serves. So they kind of went for it on the first one, and then you saw them spin it in the second.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And with that, it just was an amazing thing in itself too. But also with the United Cup, what about Poland coming back and having that interest and Poland winning it for the first time after being runner-up, but the USA ended up almost, you know, they were the first 2 years that they had it were the winners, and then runner-up Poland was last year, and then they end up winning it over Switzerland this year against, you know, Belinda Bencic and Stan Wawrinka, then Iga Swiatek and Herbert Hurkacz, which is really a comeback story this year.
Yeah, it was great to see Hurkacz back in action, and I know Swiatek really carried, helped carry the load as being, you know, kind of the captain. And, but for them to win it, I think was awesome. They've been very close. The United States beat them last year for the title, so I know it's, you know, and I think it's really cool how the top players like that, I know some of them are so focused on just winning the slam that they're in, but for the ones that do play for the team, I think is incredible. I think it's you're putting your country first, because it's you're representing your country, and you all wear the same colors and you're all on the same team. It's almost like a Davis Cup type kind of sort of atmosphere.
It is.
But it's, you know, you've got like mixed doubles out there. It's women and men, so I think it's cool how they all come together. And for them to win, they played incredibly well. And hats off to Switzerland as well. Stan Wawrinka, 41 years old, still doing it.
Yeah.
Belinda Bencic, she went on she had injuries in the past, but she's a Olympic gold medalist, Olympic silver medalist.
Yes.
And for her to go have a baby and come back, and now she's borderline top 10.
Yeah.
And to lead her team to runner-up
Mhm.
in the Grand Slam Cup, I think is fantastic, and it's phenomenal what she's doing.
Oh, absolutely, it is. It is phenomenal to have, and especially she's a little older too, but still in that realm of then having the realm of having her still playing as good as she is, even after a baby and everything like that.
Absolutely, and now she is officially ranked top 10. So
that's amazing.
That's unbelievable. As a mom.
And a mom to boot, yeah, and to have
the other ladies, they don't have to compete with that. They don't have to be a full-time mom.
Yeah.
And go play on tour. So.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is amazing thing with that is so many moms are on tour nowadays, when back in the day you really never heard about it too much.
Right.
As far as that goes.
I literally tip my cap. For 40 weeks they have to carry that child, and then after the child they have to, that's obviously your main focus, but then not only to get your body back in shape, and then to play again, and then to be a mom, and then to travel all over the world. It's unbelievable. I tip my cap to any mom who is on tour still grinding.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the congratulations to them too, as far as that goes with that. And then with that, everybody, you YouTubers out there, just like, subscribe, and comment on my the tennis volley talk, and then also you're going to see the racket of the week coming up here, and with that. And then also you podcasters out there, like, subscribe, and comment. And today, with that, kind of in commemoration with the Australian Open, I have a Dunlop Ivan Goolagong racket, which is really kind of a nice racket here. It's probably around about probably about 1960, in that era, in 60 to 70. It still has the ribbons on the side of the racket, which were actually kind of, with the ribbons on the racket itself, was kind of for support of the lower part of the racket, of the head of the racket, so it gives it more stability or whatever. And then the strings actually here at the bottom and top were actually the precursor to string savers. So it was kind of to save the strings from rubbing back and forth on that. But the color of the racket, I like the color. It's white on the bottom part of it, bottom part of the head, but it's a light sky blue, blue with the Dunlop here, picture of Ivan Goolagong, of that nature, and just very, very amazing. But Ivan Goolagong, she won 7 Grand Slams while she won 4 Australian Opens. She won the French, and she won 2 Wimbledons, and then she was a runner-up on the U.S. Open with that. But with the Dunlop itself, it was founded in like 1898 by the rubber manufacturing company Dunlop, and first entered the tennis racket market in about 1932, and then started making tennis balls in 1923, of all things. Go figure that. And then also, it was kind of is a British sports equipment manufacturing company established. And then, with the products and such as the tennis balls and the rackets and the badminton rackets, and then also with the development of what they did with the Max Ply racket, was the most popular back in 1931, and one of the most popular sponsors with one of the Dunlop rackets, not only Ivan Goolagong, but prior to that was Rod Laver. So kind of with that, that's kind of a little history of, with what I have, and kind of what you heard about the Dunlop and also Ivan Goolagong. So with that, it's just a really great racket, still straight. You could probably still hit with it too.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a good looking racket. Ivan Goolagong, that's a blast from the past name for sure, and what a career she had. But really cool racket, and one day we'll have to bust those wood ones out and T2s, and we'll play on the court.
Oh, absolutely, we will. It'll have to be that way.
Yes.
And then, I have a couple. I think I'll probably bring the VLOS racket and let you have the Stan Smith racket or something. Who knows? Or Jack Kramer.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. And then we can test out the T2000 rackets then too.
Exactly. And see what they played like in the past. I know the strings are a little newer and different, but it'd be kind of cool to step back in time a little bit and swing what they swung and feel it.
Sure. And what do you, and another thing too, what do you think about, or have you seen the tennis podcasts such as Nothing Major with Stevie Johnson, Jack Sock, and John Isner, and then Sam Querrey? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have, and it's pretty awesome what they're doing. And I like getting kind of the four heads together and talking about like what being on tour was like, what playing serve like, because all of them pretty much played Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, and some of them had wins over, maybe two of the three, or some of them all of them. Like I know Sam Querrey beat Djokovic once at Wimbledon, so that's a pretty good notch to have on your belt. Hey, I beat a prime Djokovic.
Yeah, and with that, it's really such knowledgeable there. And then of course you have served with Andy Roddick, and that's pretty good because he talks a little bit about his playing career, and he's kind of pretty humorous about how he started playing with these higher, like Djokovic and stuff like that, but then or Federer. And then he said that, once Federer got into that slice and coming and then taking the big, large step and then catching it right behind him on the backhand and boom, pounding it cross court, he knew he couldn't. Yeah, he was just falling right into where Roger wanted him to fall in. He's pretty humorous that way.
Yeah, Andy Roddick's really quick-witted and funny, and he's pretty well-spoken. Actually, he's very well-spoken. And to hear some of his, former stories, and not only that, if people go and research like the Rafael Nadal interview, I think that is Nadal's greatest interview he's ever given. I think he was comfortable with a former player that he obviously knows very well, and he got so in depth about his career and his body and the injuries that he went through and his mindset during that, and how he thought Federer got better after 2016 when he missed 6 months for the first time ever with he got like his knee scope.
Yes.
And he said, I think Federer got even better, at least his backhand did. And it was just really interesting to hear all that. And he also has current players and former players on there, and that's another really good one. So
it is.
Check that out.
And then to actually have that kind of interview with Rafa, but Rafa almost kind of reminds me a lot with his tenacity, because he was just that tenacity on the court and never give up attitude that he had. Almost kind of reminds you back of with Jimmy Connors and that, because he just didn't give up on any point whatsoever.
Never give up on a point. I mean, very rarely did you see, and if he did, you knew something was probably off, or maybe he was up so much in the set. But it wasn't in his DNA for him to give up on a point. He literally fight and clawed, and I was a big Federer fan throughout throughout basically all of Nadal's career. And unfortunately, Federer was the one of the big three that went out first with retirement. But I appreciated it later on. I wish I would have appreciated early on how good he actually was and how hard he struck the ball. And his symbol is a bull, and that's Rafa. He was muscular. He was kind of the bigger one on court, and he would just go hard for every single ball on every single point. And it's to be admired. And there's nobody else that has played the game that he played. And I know Connors was ferocious, and he wanted to win every point too, just like Rafa did. But Rafa just exploded his forehand, his backhand. His serve was kind of, maybe that was the one point of his game where you're like, oh, that could have been better. But his return of serve, like, he really forced you to be on that day, because if you weren't and he was doing his usual Rafa things, he was going to be.
Yeah. And you there?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah.
I'm still here.
Okay. So yeah, with that, it is also, but also, do you kind of notice that with Rafa, as he as the years kind of progressed, seemed to me that when in his younger years, he actually, when he had the ground strokes and the forehand, it actually went further past and towards the baseline more. But as he kind of progressed, he seemed to have more topspin, and it didn't make it past the service line very far. And that's where a lot of the, like, Djokovic's and Federer's and everybody started taking advantage of him with that shot right there, because it didn't come as deep as it used to.
Right, and you just wonder why, like, the change. I don't know if it happened because of age. I don't know if he was trying to mix things up, or maybe he just felt like, okay, this is just what I have to do, and then I'll just, start, doing the cross-court game, my forehand to your backhand, and I'm going to beat you at that. I don't know, but yeah, there was definitely a difference, and Rafa, student of the game, he just adapted, and sometimes it hurt him, sometimes he just worked around it and made it better. But the guy just never stopped working, and every day in practice, I know it's kind of like, well, yeah, that's the point, but he said on Andy Roddick's podcast, every time I stepped out on practice, I was trying to improve something.
Yes.
And he's really to be admired, and he was a gentleman, very good person, and he loved and had a passion for the game, and he was a true gentleman. There's not one thing you can really point at, except for he was beating Federer so often. That was the only thing I didn't like about him. Other than that, he's one of the guys I respect most out of every tennis player that's ever picked up a ball.
Oh yeah, and with that, it just, between that, it just is those two just were such a rivalry anyway. But it's such a good thing to have the people that we have right now, and in the men's and also the women's, but a little bit more variety of the women now than just the big, well, you could call it really actually the big two in the men's, and probably the big 5 or 6 in the women.
Yeah, that's about it. It's kind of like the big two, and then but their big two isn't as distant from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, all those guys than it is in the women's.
That is correct. Yeah, and the difference with that is just very minimal with anything of that. So any kind of prediction for you of who might end up then in the final of the Australian Open?
Well, this is kind of, Alcaraz has won every Grand Slam at least twice.
Yes.
Well, I should say not at least twice, but twice. He's 2-time defending French Open champion. He's won back-to-back Wimbledon's, 2 U.S. Opens, but he hasn't even made it to the semis of the Australian Open yet. Last year he lost to Djokovic. That was one of Djokovic, probably his best win of the entire season.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe he does get to this final, and he looks to be playing very well. He said he's well rested as opposed to other years in the past where he grinded until the end, and then he had to go right down to Australia and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt like he never got a true rest. But
yeah,
I think it's going to be Sinner and Alcaraz. I know everyone's picking Sinner, but if Alcaraz is rested and feeling good and on, nobody can beat him. And I'm still going to pick Sinner just because I think he's so consistent, and this is his tournament to lose. I know that's boring, but it is what it is. For the women, though, Swiatek to me looks the best. I think her strokes are on point, and I don't know if Sabalenka is going to make it. I'm thinking it could be one of like a Coco Gauff or somebody else. I haven't seen the draw yet, but I'm thinking Swiatek's going to beat somebody other than Sabalenka.
Yeah, and you're probably pretty right. I mean, I myself, just with the way Sinner has been playing, and if Alcaraz is just off a little bit, Sinner has the consistency all the way around. Yes, Alcaraz has the flashy, fancy shots, the drop shot, and everything like that. But Sinner just seems to have the all around, and especially with the coaches too, that like the Darren Cahill, one of the best coaches out there. now.
Yeah, Darren Cahill's amazing, and that's another thing too. I mean, Alcaraz has a little change in his service motion. His first initial motion kind of looks like, step by step for Djokovic's, but obviously his follow through is a little different. So we'll take a peek on how that affects his game, and also, Juan Carlos Ferrero, his coach since he was 15 years old. They now have parted ways, I think amicably and respectfully. So I think Carlos wanted to kind of get more involved with sponsorships and try to make the money when he's younger, and good for him. And I think Juan Carlos wanted to kind of focus more on the tennis side of it. And, so it's okay. We just have a different viewpoint. And I think he, took him to where he, the best he could go. And, I believe Juan Carlos Ferrero, he won't have any trouble finding work.
No, I don't think so.
It's going to be up to him if he wants to take some time with his family, or continue to travel the world with another player.
Oh, sure.
And Sinner reminds me of like Djokovic in his prime. He doesn't have any holes in his game. His serve at times can be a little better if you're kind of nitpicking, but his return of serve is fantastic.
Oh, it is.
His
It is.
His reach,
his
forehands, his backhands, his mental toughness. He doesn't get rattled. You don't see him argue. You don't see him smash rackets. You don't see him use his cool.
Oh, no, huh? You don't. The most you probably see is him kind of like grimace a little bit if he missed a shot. And that's it.
And that's about what you're going to get in.
That's about it.
Those guys were kind of on that line where they left their racket through the top.
Oh, yeah. That is correct. You'll get a little, with Sinner, you'll look at him if he misses a shot and he'll just kind of grimace a little bit. And that's it. That's not, you're not going to get anything from him.
Right.
With that. So with that too, Juan Carlos Ferrero, if he gets taken by somebody this year, because he's going to be so popular to try to get, will it be on the ATP or the WTA that might get him?
Great question. I think he would be up for both, but like I said, if I was him, I would probably take some time off and just figure out what I really want to do and see what the opportunities are, unless if there's, maybe a player that he just, whether it be a Spanish player, which I think is more natural for him, like Alcaraz was. Maybe he goes back down and sees another teenager kind of along the same lines as Alcaraz. Maybe he goes to the WTA. I don't know, though, who is without a coach, so we'd have to sit and go through that. But anything's possible with Juan Carlos Ferrero. He was a solid player, very smart, and, you can see the results with Alcaraz and the training that they did. And, it's fantastic what he did.
Oh, absolutely. But anyway, that's really kind of that's a good insight. And if it happens, I think it's a possibility that it he might change it up, and it could be on the WTA that he might get somebody to help myself. But that's kind of me. It might be just a little more relaxed. Who knows? But that could happen. With that, but everybody, you YouTubers out there, be sure like, subscribe, and comment on the Tennis Volley Talk, and you podcasters, if you want to take a look at the racket of the week, like, subscribe, comment, and also if you want to take a look at it, go to Tennis Volley Talk on YouTube. With that, but Rob, thank you again for being my co-host on the upcoming Australian Open again. And I'm sure that you will be a co-host again with some of the majors coming up and after the majors.
Absolutely. We'll have to do this in a couple weeks and see how our projections turned out.
Yes, absolutely. And then, of course, then getting out and hitting again, with I've had craziness injuries at the first part of the year and the last part of the year that's just kept me out for a while, and it'll be a little bit trying to get myself back into it from then, like not only my broken arm on my left and now the broken elbow on my right when I'm right-handed. That was a craziness with that.
Yeah, it's almost like you definitely have to stay in it mentally as much as you do physically, and thank goodness we didn't have to miss any of our tournaments and things like that.
Yes.
So, but just keep going, work on the diet, work on the exercise, strengthen it back up, and, get back at it.
Yeah, and one of the things that I might actually end up doing is a possibility of taking a road trip with the tennis podcast and going to Mason, Texas, and a possibility of actually playing on a red clay tennis court in commemoration of the French Open.
That would be awesome. You definitely have to bring your camera with you and document all of that. That would be cool to see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It'll be great. And then plus possibly doing a podcast from the red clay tennis court. So that'd be kind of cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you again for joining me. Thank you for being a co-host again. Always a pleasure having you as a co-host.
Absolutely, Brian. Happy to be here, and thank you for inviting me on.
All right. Thank you. You have a great day.
Take care, Brian. You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was it for the podcast, and great interview. That was fun. So all you people, if you're out there and you're in the southern states, keep it up. Keep out playing outside. And then also with the inside in the northern part where I'm at, got to go inside, and then that can happen, and keep it up. So I will then talk to you next week, and everybody have a great week.